Our journey begins at the base of Foel Lus, a proud standing mountain with a forgotten history of fairies, elves, dragons and murlocs. From the village of Signet, we took the path upwards and towards Foel Lus, along the path where we came across the long-forgotten cave of the fabled elven hermit Elrindor, who lived in the mal shadow of the mountain long ago. We continued onwards, and it was not long before we caught sight of the latent enchantments that were still beholding this wondrous place. It was only a few short steps further onwards where we found the rocky outcrops of the mountain goblins. Although now extinct, the mountain still bears the scars of their foul doings. We carried ourselves onwards and upwards along the slopes of Foel Lus, where we found carpets of elven lemonweed, once harvested by the elven matrons to enhance the elven manner. And yet, within only a few yards, we found the ancient mountainside lair of the elven-tamed red dragon Doronthos. The land here still scarred and fighting for survival against the now forgotten echoes of the dragon's breath. The views here were stunning, and it was easy to see why the dragon had chosen this place as his home. Our feet took us onwards, and then suddenly, without any warning at all, we happened across a legend of old. It was none other than Mr. Jiminy Cricket, who has taken a well-earned rest from children's storybooks, and is now living on the side of the mountain of Foel Lus. We also met Jiminy's neighbour, an interesting fellow. This is Mr. Rinshin Kinnikin Doo-Doo-Doo, a blue-bodied beetle from Booty Bay. It was easy to see why Jiminy had come here. Just over the hill was an ancient fairy commune. These fairies were water fairies and enjoyed spending their time playing and frolicking in the little springs that ran amongst the grass, hidden away from human eyes. Water fairies are as invisible today as they always were. We left the fairy commune and continued our journey upwards along the banks of Foel Lus. Flanked on either side of the path by Longbottom Leaf, we soon came upon the ancient stone of Ilsdorin. This stone now lays monument to the elven realm that once inhabited these lands when the elven king fell on the side of the mountain. Only a short distance further, we came across the old ford pass of Judillion. The ancient elves, anxious to trade their reagents, built a bridge across the ford. Take a moment just to look at this elven crossing. Passing across the ancient elven fjord, we came across the old border stone of the elven realm. This marked the border of the elves and the murlocs. Our path now became more difficult and steeper. The murlocs were a strange and eerie folk, and yet we still found time to champion the ancient murloc legacy. As our path continued to ascend, we found some signs that would help us. And one that would not. Before embarking on the final part of our journey, we decided to take a rest. It was only then that we noticed that this was Tom's trail. We were close, very, very close, and we passed through the dragon-scorched land, heading towards the top. Until at last we saw the murloc ruins on the peak of the mountain. We had arrived. We had reached the fortress of the murlocs. It was here that they once lay their dominion across the lands, unfazed by their elven neighbours, and unrattled by the dragon that lived to the side. The murlocs had a perfect strategic position for their fortress, which stood atop the tallest mountain over Penmaenmawr, and yet all that now remains of this once great bastion is a ruin of memories long forgotten of the murlocs. Thank you for joining us on these fairy tales of Foel Lus, brought to you by Helen, Tom,